What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Tablesetters covering all things Major League Baseball. As always, I'm Steve, joined with my tag team partner, Devin. What's going on, man?
What's up? What's up? Episode 89. Welcome, everybody. I got to say thank you to everyone out there for really just the back and forth over the last week. Great week of content last week. We did not get a regular episode in as far as an around the league episode, but had two fantastic guests. And Bryce Whitlow of the Hall of Pretty Good, and Jack McMullen, radio announcer for the Marlins, and also obviously one of the creators of Just Baseball. Just a great week. I know we have some new followers from those interviews. I mean, I got to say what Bryce has built with the Hall of Pretty Good is pretty incredible. Just through that episode and through some of the content from that episode that we posted, we've gained a lot of followers, some of the most viewed stuff we've ever put up. And we already knew how well he was doing, but I think kind of being a part of it with him last week, it just really opened our eyes to how big that has gotten. So thank you to Bryce for coming on here. Hopefully that's not the last time. And if anyone is listening to this episode because they found us through that interview or through one of those posts that Bryce collaborated along with us, just thank you for listening. I hope you guys like what you hear. Give us a shot here. We are baseball obsessed, as is Bryce. So I think if you enjoy his stuff, even though this is not exactly the same as what he's doing, I think you'll enjoy us as well.
Yeah, I think it speaks to the underbelly of the popularity that is baseball, having conversations, and that's what it reminds us of. I know you mentioned it last week, but it feels like when you're hanging out with the guys, drinking a few beers, just mentioning random players from the past, whether it be random running backs from the 2000s or random shortstops from the early 90s and things like that. But we want to give a shout out to Denard Span, who did pass the vote to enter the illustrious Hall of the Pretty Good. And I saw some other mentions of who would be up for vote. I know names were conjectured about because we saw a lot of posting by Bryce, but Eric Hosmer up for grabs too. Is that the next person up to be voted on?
He's officially in. And actually, as we were coming on here, I just opened up Twitter real quick. And it actually looks like someone wrote an article, like a sports reporter. I actually have to look at it closer, but someone actually wrote an article about him receiving 88% of the vote for the Hall of Pretty Good. Literally, there's articles being written about the Hall of Pretty Good. This thing is taking on a life of its own.
We love it. And since we last joined you guys, there's a lot of baseball news to break down. Of course, Sunday Night Baseball took shape with all the news on the radar. And like baseball, serendipitous and sometimes poetic, we're going to have Rafael Devers and the Boston Red Sox taking center stage, which is going to be fantastic to watch. But we'll get into that with the open say. But please support the show by following us on IG and on the X scene at Tablesetters Pod. If you can do so, leave a review. If you do so, we'll send you something nice. Maybe use the code TS10 at Dugout Mugs for 10% off on your order. Father's Day just passed, but the summer's kicking off. I'm sure other occasions are coming. 4th of July, if you order right now, you probably can get it in time. Drink all your beers throughout that Dugout Mug with your favorite baseball team or really any team at large. I know they have a whole bunch of stuff on there, but just support us in any way you can. We do appreciate the support. Like Devin said, all the new listeners that are out there from those two great pods that we had last week. We were lucky enough to have Jack McMullen and Bryce Whitlow on here. We do appreciate that, and welcome to the family.
Yeah, man, we're going to keep it rolling. Hopefully we get some more guests on here in due time. Lots to talk about. And I mean, as we roll into the opening say here, what a week of baseball here. There's just so much going on, from drama to amazing play on the field. Just a lot to keep up with, whether it's college, professional. I've seen some mock draft stuff being put out as well. So there's a lot of content to gather and look through. And we're going to try to talk about some of the big stories tonight.
Of course, the biggest story happening Sunday night, as I mentioned, right as Sunday Night Baseball took shape. And let's get into Rafael Devers heading to San Francisco. All right, as I said, baseball has a way of taking center stage in a big way, and Sunday Night Baseball did not disappoint with the Giants taking on the Dodgers in the showcase game to end the weekend. And Rafael Devers was announced to be traded. We saw the clips of it at this point. He boarded the charter flight with the Boston Red Sox, was sent back to Fenway Park in looked like a cab to me. All the drama, all the hysterics that have happened in the Boston media. They didn't just trade Rafael Devers. Feels like they're waving the white flag on the entire idea of franchise continuity. Less than 18 months after locking up this superstar to a 10-year, $313 million contract, a deal was supposed to signal a new era, stability post Mookie Betts. They turned around and dumped the very player for a package that just seems reset. So We'll get into the why now, but your initial reaction on Rafi Devers being dealt, because I know the drama happened. We covered it in the offseason, but this still feels like a shocking move from the Boston Red Sox.
Oh yeah. I mean, all right. So I think we got to work our way through this because I know there was, some of our friends were like, "Oh, emergency pod. You guys got to do an emergency pod of table setters for this trade." And I think that was probably a thought that went in our brains as well. But sometimes these things are interesting actually to talk about a couple days later because more and more comes out. And literally by the hour, I feel like we've gotten more. So if we had given you our initial reaction right off the bat, I don't think we would have known everything, but I'll give you my initial reaction. All right. So when I first open up the phone and see this wherever I saw it, I'm guessing on X, I immediately thought I was being faxed, like MLB on fax, fake tweet, right? So I had to just scroll and look to see if it was like everywhere. And sure enough, it was everywhere. And you look for the Jeff Passan stuff. You check the spelling, making sure it's talking baseball and not talking Bassabell that's out there now, all those fake kind of mock satire accounts now. So that was my first initial, like, what is happening? And then after that, it was just, what are we doing, Boston? Like, I remember a couple episodes ago, we were talking about Jaron Duran. And I believe something I said to you was, I don't think they can trade another homegrown star to the West Coast because they were talking about San Diego. And here we are, probably less than a couple weeks after that conversation. And they trade a homegrown star, just actually a different one and maybe a bigger one to the West Coast. So that was my reaction. I cannot believe they've done this again. Rafi Devers' beloved, really the last part of that 2018 World Series team. It's all gone. I cannot believe they've done it again. So that's my initial reaction. I'll give you many more thoughts of other things that have come out as we go through the conversation. But the first time you saw it, what was the initial reaction when you saw it?
The more you think about it, the more it makes sense, because this feels like a complete breakdown in trust between Devers and the front office as the season progressed. It's the same group that told him to, quote, put the glove away in spring training. They locked him in the DH role, and then they tried to backpedal when Tristan Cassis got hurt. They needed him to play first base. Devers refused. He criticized Craig Breslow publicly. They had the meeting with John Henry just to cool things off. Felt like the damage was done. I mean, Boston clearly didn't view Devers as a leader. They expected the fact that he's a $313 million player to be flexible, accountable, adaptable, and he wasn't that. And you mentioned taking Devers' side in some capacity because you mentioned before you signed a deal, you were told one thing, and now they're asking you to do something different. And in Boston's eyes, the front office clearly think that he failed the test of being a leader for that locker room. Whether fair or not, they saw him as a superstar, unwilling to meet the moment that they needed to, and they opted to move on, which is a really bold move. So whether we agree or not with the decision, I certainly don't. You do not trade a top 30 bat in the game in his prime mid-season, especially when you're 500, especially when you just swept the New York Yankees. You don't do that unless something behind the scenes is deeply broken. And on the flip side, we have to give the credit to the Giants, man. They rarely are able to make that bold move before anybody else. And you go back to the Arson Judge stuff. You can go back to them being in on maybe Juan Soto, potentially Shohei Ohtani. Yes, they took on the $250+ million left on this deal, but that's the cost of doing business when you can't lure the stars in free agency. They got their guy. You make them better in the immediate. And yes, maybe the deal doesn't age as well, but the Giants have their guy for the next few years, and they have a bat in there, and they're right in the mix right now. That's lost in all this. The Giants are right in the mix on the Dodgers' tails. I love this for the Giants, but it's deeply puzzling if I'm a Boston fan to watch a guy like Devers away after everything that happened with Mookie. Did you not learn your lesson? Clearly not.
Yeah, the way the whole thing unfolded was insane. I kept on thinking about that was my second reaction. Like, wait, they just swept the Yankees. How do you do this right after you sweep the Yankees? Like, your fans can't even like be happy for 24 hours about it. Like, you just kind of got back into the thick of things. Rafael Devers homered in that last game against the Yankees. Like, he had a quote afterwards before the trade went down of like, have you guys moved on from all that drama? And he was like, yeah, we've moved on. It's just bizarre how the whole thing worked. And to me, it's like sweeping the Yankees and then immediately after trading your star player is like finally getting to date the girl of your dreams and then immediately cheating on her. Like, that's what it felt like to me. And I'm sure we can think of a lot of other metaphors here, but like, that's what it felt like. Like, just like, oh, we got exactly what we want. And now we're going to mess it all up. Listen, for the short term, there is absolutely no way this deal makes them better. The package they got, I don't think there's any way that ages gracefully. I don't think we look at this 5 years from now and like, you know what? this guy turned out to be a stud, and so did this guy, and it's really good deal in hindsight. I don't think that's gonna be a thing. What I will say, if we're digging for things that the Red Sox may have a positive out of this, it's the fact that they got out from under that contract. I think that is the main thing here. And if you look at the trade value Twitter, I'm not sure if that's the exact name, but they rate and they say if it's an overpay or an underpay or even. They
I
marked it
saw
as
that as well. Yeah, I saw that.
they marked it as an overpay for the Giants, and it has to be because they are taking on the entire contract.
Yep.
A lot of times in a deal like that, where like he's only a couple years into this major deal, usually the team trading them away is going to have to eat at least a little bit, and they didn't. Um, so I'll give them that. I wonder if there's a part of the Red Sox that looks at the Yankees and what they were able to do with the money that they didn't end up giving Soto, spreading it out to different places, and how successful that has been for the Yankees this year. And I wonder if part of them was felt like, you know what? I think we might be better off going with our young guys and then dividing this money up to make ourselves better around the edges and get a couple other major players. I mean, you look at the bullpen and like that needs a lot of work. So I think long term in that way, and maybe we'll even see it this offseason, maybe that pays some dividends, but you got to sign the right guys. Like the Yanks signed for the most part the right guys, and it's worked out. So there's a lot of down the road we can judge this trade better. But to go back to the Giants, because you can't just ignore them here. Buster Posey, man, this guy's swinging for the fences. He is not there playing around. Competitor on the field, clearly a competitor off the field or in the front office as well. So love it. They needed that power bat for so long. They find themselves right in the thick of things, and they pull the trigger on this. I don't think they gave up very much at all, in my opinion. They're taking on money, but they've been trying to give stars money for years. And obviously, you land Willie Adames, and he's getting a nice chunk of change. But you missed out on several other guys, including Aaron Judge and Ohtani and Carlos Correa and all these different guys. So we know that they have the money to do it. The other thing, the Red Sox apparently not shopping him around. Apparently, there's only like 3 or 4 teams they talked to. That to me is also truly bizarre. There's a lot of things that look really bad for the Red Sox, but ultimately, these were not the same guys in the front office that signed Rafael Devers to a long-term deal. And I think maybe from the get-go, they weren't really a big fan of that deal. And when things got dramatic, they found their out. I think that's what happened.
Yeah, and honestly, we can't ignore the irony from the jump. The story, we've been following it here on Tablesetters every single week as the season progressed. They did not need to be in this position. This entire thing was avoidable if they committed to Devers as their third baseman, or at least communicated clearly of what his role post Bregman signing would be. We wouldn't be here. So I think the miscommunication, they essentially chose Alex Bregman over Rafael Devers. Instead, now we get what feels like a second chapter in this disturbing pattern of, if you're a Boston fan, again, we're not crying tears for them. They have a whole bunch to celebrate in Boston as far as the city of champions goes, but they once let Mookie walk. They regret it. Now they're shipping out Devers, and they feel like they can't get along. And like, yeah, they're going to make it about flexibility. They're going to be about letting the young hitters like Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer and Christian Campbell all be developed into these players that you're going to be excited about. But to me, if I'm a Boston fan, I'm certainly not. It's hard to buy into the youth movement when your youth is never the one that sticks around. So eventually these players feel like they're going to be shipped off, or at least one of them would be. So, I mean, the verdict for me is the Giants got better today, not just for 2025, but really for the next 5 years, if we're being honest, because Rafi Devers is still very much one of the best hitters in baseball. He is a legitimate threat every single time. He's out of the AL East, which is another big thing for the Yankees. If I'm looking at through my Yankee fandom glasses, it's a huge thing. He owned Garrett Cole. He owned the Yankees. He did the same thing on his goodbye in a Red Sox uniform, like you said, hitting a home run against them. But the Red Sox might be smarter for this in 2029, but that's not how Boston plays business here. Like, this is not the way they're not a small market club. They are undeniably worse today. And really, that's the difference between a front office that's playing to win and one that's deciding who they want to be. And there's a whole bunch to discuss here about what is the identity of this club going forward, especially as, like we said, they're playing good baseball right now. And this has to feel like a punch in the gut for a team like the Red Sox, like coming off the sweep of the New York Yankees. And on the other hand, the San Francisco Giants to feel like this is a huge boost because they're right in this race. And it would not shock me to be hanging around and be a dark horse in the NL West, also in this National League playoff race as it gets going.
Yeah, and I hope so. I mean, that'd be must-see TV. Like the Dodgers, partly because of injury, just have not been able to run away, and the Giants have surprised people, and now you add a superstar. I mean, the morale in that locker room has to be super, super high, and we know that ballpark when there's something to come out and see, can get real wild and can be one of the best home field advantages in baseball. So look out. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. They're pretty good all around the diamond, and now you add that power hitter, and it's fun. And maybe this wakes Willie Adames up too. Maybe he needed to be more of the Robin in this situation in San Francisco. And the cool thing too is I think a lot of people, their initial reaction is like, oh, every offensive player when they go to San Francisco, they get worse. Well, we saw a graphic earlier that showed the amount of Rafael Devers home runs in Boston actually would have been higher in San Francisco each year, literally, including this year. So something about that ballpark actually is really good for his swing. Really cool to see him walk in today with like Barry Bonds. Like they're gonna talk each other's ears off. Apparently, like the whole thing is really, really fun in San Francisco. And back to Boston. I mean, we'll see. They've already committed to Christian Campbell. And maybe they'll throw some of this money Roman Anthony's way, Marcelo Meyer. Who knows how they're gonna go about this? You locked up Garrett Crochet just a little while after he got there. So there's some things to still be excited about. And I think they still have the potential to maybe be the best team in this division in a few years for a while if the young talent works out. But if you're a Yankee fan, man, like you see the way the Orioles messed things up and now what Boston's doing. I mean, the Yankee fans are kind of, I don't want to say they're lucking out here, but they're enjoying kind of the missteps of a few of these other franchises. I thought it was interesting. Jonathan Papelbon came out and said that apparently he was asked like if he has heard about what the reaction in the Boston clubhouse is to all this. I think he said something along the lines of like there hasn't been much of one. Like no one's very upset. And that should tell you all you need to know. Jaron Duran, they asked him about it, and he basically said it's just one guy. Like I haven't even really thought about it. Some of those quotes, and David Ortiz even came out and said, like, you wouldn't believe how many times I've tried to reach out to Rafi and, all this. He criticized the organization a little bit as well, but like he didn't necessarily just come to the defense of Devers. So I've been team Devers on this the whole time, even if I think he's being a little dramatic. I do think, I mean, the organization, think about it. When they started talking about signing Bregman, they immediately were like, yeah, but he's going to play second. He's going to play second. He's going to play second. And then you get to spring training. He takes almost no reps at second. So if you're Rafi Devers, you have to be looking around like, what the hell? Like, why are you going to like lie to me like this? Just like be straight up. So I think there's fault on both sides. But apparently, I thought if like the clubhouse would be upset. I have not heard any of that so far. So maybe he was rubbing people the wrong way. There's another story that said he was really annoyed when Christian Campbell volunteered to play first base because he thought it made him look bad. So Rafi doesn't come out of this squeaky clean by any means. And Boston certainly doesn't as well. And like I said, this is something we will judge 5 years from now, maybe 3, but not right away. It's just, I just still can't get over the fact that they have now done this twice. Like no one in Boston was over the Mookie Betts thing yet. Like not even close. I don't think Rafi Devers will have the impact on the San Francisco Giants long term that Mookie Betts has had in Los Angeles, but still, Rafi Devers is beloved in that city. So it's tough look.
And it's not like they were looking at Devers as not part of the equation and didn't decide to move on from like a Xander Bogaerts. They decided they wanted to keep him. 10 years is a large commitment. $313 million is a lot of money. And I understand that there's been a shift in the front office, but at the very least, this is a player that was invested in. You chose out of all these players, Rafi Devers was the guy you're investing in. So there was something to be excited about on your end. And clearly the relationship soured, maybe not with the not just with the front office, but with the dugout, the locker room, everyone in there. The morale seemed to be down on Devers. But we talked about this groupthink mentality of sometimes the media does play a part in the way people are perceived. And I think Devers didn't do himself any favors. There's no doubt about it. And I just think that this was soured from the jump and a change needed to be made. And if you want to spin it positive for the Boston front office, give them credit for having the moxie to make a deal like this, because a lot of front offices would not have the ability to do this. They would just let the milk sour and they would sit there and just try to make the best of it because he's a generational hitter. That's what he is. But they decide to pull the Band-Aid off and just move on and have the confidence in those guys, the Myers, the Christian Campbells, the Roman Anthonys. And if you're those 3 guys, there's an immense pressure, but there has to be this validation of they really believe in us, that we're going to be the core that's going to carry the next generation of the Boston Red Sox. And they better hope they're right, because if they make this mistake twice, I mean, they're still going to show up to Fenway. People are going to love the Red Sox, but this is the type of stuff that I mean, they were not over the Mookie thing, like you mentioned. This Devers one could age just as poorly. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. A credit to you as well, because a few episodes back, you said something along the lines of like maybe the front office is kind of doing this purposefully, like dragging his name through the mud a little bit. So because they knew they were going to try to trade him, and that they felt like it'd be a little more palatable to the fans if this drama happened first, that kind of made him look a little not so great. And I don't know, we will never truly know if any of that was on purpose, but maybe at least a little bit. I think at the time, I don't want to say I laughed you off, but I definitely didn't agree with you. I just didn't think there was anything to that, because at the same time, if you do that, aren't you lowering the guy's trade value? Maybe not. Maybe not. San Francisco seems very happy to have him, and other teams, I think, wish they could have gotten in on those conversations. The only other thing I'll say, I saw one thing that's interesting, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know a ton about soccer, but I will say this. John Henry apparently is part of the Liverpool ownership group as well. And apparently they have just made a couple major signings, like huge deals. So there's a little bit of a conspiracy theory out there that, all right, Red Sox fans, don't get excited that you've cleared this space. It's not going to be used for other things. It's actually already been spent in this Liverpool stuff. I find that very hard to believe. But again, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be soccer expert or pretend to know all the ins and outs of John Henry's involvement with Liverpool, because I just learned about that today. But I think it's something at least to keep an eye on. And if you hear a little more about it, like, oh, I heard that on Tablesetters. Yeah, I'm going to look into it more as well. It's basically one thing I saw on the internet today very quickly, and haven't had a chance to look further into it. But that would make this even worse if that was the case.
No, for sure. I mean, definitely, it's the same pool of money that it comes from. And although they're separated into different silos, they are pulling from the same pot of money. I guess you can make that argument and start really connecting the red strings together. But going
Yeah.
back to what you're saying about the Devers media campaign, the smear artist, that was what was going on here. Like we said, he did himself no favors, but I think you can take any situation and take a look at it. If you start to skew it in a way that you're manipulating the way people perceive it and start airing out the dirty laundry that you usually don't, if you have the player's best interest in mind of him going to be there for the 10 years, a lot of the stuff we saw would not have been on Front Street. And it felt like Alex Cora was in on it. It felt like Craig Breslow was in on it. It felt like John Henry was in on it, that everybody had this idea that this guy wasn't going to be here. And we had to make it more digestible for the fans to have, because this was something that they were going to have to swallow. And, the Mookie thing definitely went a different way. Mookie left town being the guy that they loved, even though he had to be traded because they weren't going to sign him.
Right.
It just, the Devers thing feels like it was this campaign to make it more digestible. And I still believe in that. And it is going to be judged after time. It's not going to be judged on the package they got back. I think it's going to be more of how this ages as far as Devers. Is he going to be worth the money he signed for? And that remains to be seen. But the way contracts are going at this point, I think the Giants would have signed Devers in free agency for more than that. And there's no doubt about it. The Giants were trying to give their money away. And as you mentioned, they just couldn't. So they finally got their guy. And they did it through another means, not free agency, but they got a guy that they can really build upon and really invest in. There'll be a lot of Devers orange jerseys flying off the shelves at AT&T Park. Or
Yeah,
Oracle, I should
and
say. I'm aging myself.
right. Final thought from me on this: the guy that really comes out of all this smelling like roses is a guy who's off the field right now because he's hurt. Alex Bregman, who, I mean, really, he's the first domino in all of this for all this to happen. Let's not forget he has an opt out at the end of this year, and I know he's hurt, but he was playing fantastic. Was already looking like the leader in that clubhouse, fitting right in Boston. Just kind of felt right, and he has an opt out at the end of this year, and then I believe a player option the year after that. He can bend these guys over a barrel right now and like ask them for whatever he wants, because you can't trade Rafi Devers and then also let Bregman get away at the end of this year. Like, that's catastrophe at that point. Because again, signing him caused all of this. It was the first, and in my opinion, the first piece of the puzzle here that we're looking at. So, I mean, you got to stay tuned to that as well.
Yeah, Boston's whole blueprint feels like it's completely off the grid at this point. We will have to just watch and see what Craig Breslow has planned for this, because this is not where we thought they'd be, especially building off the success we saw from last year with Duran looking like a superstar, being the 1B to a 1A of Devers. And Duran's certainly not the same player he was last year so far, and Devers not in town anymore. So a lot invested in these young players. But let's head to the meat of the order with the rest of the news around baseball. All right, we head ourselves to LA, Dodger Stadium Monday night. Shohei Ohtani took them out in a Dodgers uniform for the first time. His first MLB start since undergoing elbow surgery back in 2023. The outing lasted just one inning, 28 pitches, but all eyes were on this game. It was a moment 2 years in the making, and though he was far from polished, there was a lot of intrigue here. He made some adjustments, and we saw flashes of elite level stuff. I believe his first pitch topped over triple digits. Not really the dominance, but it has to be meaningful for baseball fans at large, not just Dodgers fans. This is a generational player rediscovering a rhythm in real time, and we have to at least watch the Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani, give him the opportunity to do two things really, really well in the field.
Yeah, no matter how much time goes by, it's still, when we haven't seen it since 2023, fascinating to watch the guy, take the mound in the top of the first and throw triple digits. And then you go to commercial and you come back from commercial and he's leading off the inning and he's a constant home run threat. I don't think he used to hit leadoff with the Angels very much or at all, maybe, but LA he is. So it's pretty crazy to watch. But again, to me, it's kind of like, it's definitely noteworthy because it's been a while. And it brings up the conversation of should they really be doing this or should they just move on and let him be a hitter? And we've talked about that. To me, it's like wake me up when he's throwing 5-6 innings. That's what I want to see. Otherwise, like, is he an opener? Are we going to put him at the back end of the bullpen? I mean, they need starters right now. But 28 pitches thrown, obviously hit triple digits, I believe a few times. No strikeouts. So like, I can't sit here and act like I was like glued to the TV watching this, or there's tweets left and right about it. I just thought there was a million other things going on in the world of baseball that were more interesting, noteworthy. But like, again, I need more to get excited about it.
So I saw a tweet that actually really popped me. There was someone saying, "What kind of sports fan am I, or what does it say about baseball that I'm choosing to watch Shohei Ohtani pitch one inning over the NBA Finals?" And I was like, "That was a casual fan out there doing that." I mean, that speaks volumes about Shohei Ohtani's star power. You mentioned some of the stuff we saw, and I did a pitch by pitch breakdown on here just to have it on here. And of course, we're not going to break it down like we would with Decoy's meals and his bowel movements, but he did throw 10 sweepers, which was undoubtedly his best pitch of the night. The velocity was up 2 to 3 ticks from 2023, and the break was filthy. So if you look at the movement, it was plus 6.1 inches horizontal, plus 2.9 vertical. He did hang a couple of them. He missed glove side on others, but the feel for the sweeper was surprisingly solid for a first outing. So people were saying all the impressive. So the model grade stuff, plus 143, pitching bot 77, if you put any meaning in that. For the four-seam fastball, we only saw 9 of those, and that's where he reached triple digits over there. He had 98 to 100 miles per hour. The stuff plus was 98. Pitching bot 63 stuff with location 20. It was electric in velocity, but erratic in location. Only 2 of the 9 were in the zone, with several yanked well outside to the lefty. So he got some swings and misses, which was a weird one from Luis Ariz, which was he usually swings out of the zone, but if you watch the pitch, he just chased it. He was confused by something. Ohtani clearly didn't trust it. He moved away from it. The sinker, we got 8 of them. 95 to 99 miles per hour. And really the most pleasant surprise of the outing, I think, a minor offering in his arsenal. We don't usually see the sinker, but he had noticeable weight and run, which was much easier for him to locate. He did that as his out pitch. And then for the splitter, we saw one of them with a negative 7.8 inch horizontal plus 1 vertical. Just one splitter. It was bounced, but the movement was promising. It didn't, if he could figure out how to throw it as a strike, it was on an 0-2 count, probably a throwaway. Didn't fool the hitter, but if it could be more prominent as he gained some stamina, I think it could be dangerous. But obviously, it's a spectacle. Shohei Ohtani's out there. You're just watching it for that. We didn't see a lot from him. He wasn't perfect, but it was a first step. The fact that he was out there with the velocity, the movement, and some variety, it shows that he's going to put some staple into this pitching. It's not going to be just a spectacle or just being out there just to show face. It feels like they're trying to build a foundation for him to actually go a decent amount, building up a little bit of the endurance. So the health looks stable. He had no visible pain, no compensation. The delivery looked the same. He did wave off the trainer after a minor stumble, and I saw that all Dodger fans on Twitter were panicking with that because the last thing you want is this dude to get hurt on the mound. But we may see the velocity dip as he goes longer, but at the end of the day, he did look a little bit tired at the end of the inning, so I'm not sure how much we can get at him, but it was really, really fun to watch. Pleasant surprise for me, and that's what you have MLB TV for. And again, I was watching this over the NBA Finals in a short burst, so shows what kind of fan I am as well.
Yeah, I mean, we can't sit here and forget how filthy he can be on the mound. Like what will be interesting is if he gets to be full time out there one out of every 5 or 6 days starting for them at some point. We don't know if that's the plan for them yet. We don't. The one thing that's fascinating, we don't know the Dodgers' stomach for this. Like we don't know how great they feel about the risk of putting him out there for both. His offense has been otherworldly since he became just a DH. It's always very, very good, ridiculously good, one of the best players in the league. But I feel like it went to a different stratosphere when you took the pitching away. So it'd be interesting if he ever goes back to full time. Does the offense dip down a little bit? And even if it does, it's still incredible. But does it dip down a little bit? Like, what is the give and take? What is worth it? What is not worth it? I'll be interested to see how Dave Roberts and the front office there kind of manages that and feels about it. Because obviously, so far they've been extremely careful, and it took way longer to get him back on the mound in a real game than anyone really thought. There was rumors last year that he would end up on the mound in the World Series against the Yankees for like an inning or something. Like a lot of people were talking about that, including us. To me, I think this story kind of buries a possibly more important story for the Dodgers, and that's that Emmett Sheehan is coming back tomorrow night, and he's going to start for the Dodgers. This guy, before he went out, electric stuff, young, right? Green, like he's got some stuff he needs to work on, but can strike out the world when he's right. The Dodgers are desperate for starting pitching and length. And this guy hopefully can come back and give them that starting tomorrow night. In his rehab assignment, 3.97 ERA, 16.88 K per nine. That's what to look for. And I know it's minor league stuff, but that is what Emmett Sheehan started getting hype for a few years back, is that his stuff is electric, and he can strike out a lot of dudes when he's right. So to me, that's a big story that almost nobody's talking about because of the Shohei one inning. I mean, Emmett Sheehan hopefully comes back here and gives you more than one inning tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think for the Dodgers, I would have been less shocked to see him pitch in the World Series. I know it was on shorter amount of healing time, but it feels like, why now? Unless there's a bigger picture of you want him to be invested and be part of the big picture, rotation wise, bullpen wise, that he's going to contribute in that way during the season. My question is, why now? Especially when he's playing at such a high level offensively. For me, you mentioned the Dodgers have the stomach. Me, if I was the person making the decision, pushing the buttons, I do not have the stomach to do that, to risk anything to have him do something. Yes, you could have him go out there and be dominant on the mound, but that's once every 5 days. I think for him as an offensive player, we're watching what he's doing is just masterful. And to risk that for anything, it doesn't feel right. But again, they're the Dodgers are the defending champions for a reason, and their front office continues to push the right buttons, and we'll see if this is the right one down the line.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's Shohei kind of pushing the buttons and making the determination of like whether he's going to go back out there and ready or not. That's what's the feeling I get. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, if you're a Dodger fan, you just got to keep your fingers crossed that it doesn't end up in some kind of bizarre injury.
So we move on to the 2025 Washington Nationals, and they may have hit rock bottom so far this season. A promising 28-30 start really has unraveled into a brutal 2-10 June so far. We got a 7-game losing streak. We're in the midst of it right now. The offense is fully flatlined. The energy's gone, and the team looks like it's coasting towards a lost season. And Dave Martinez has his finger on the pulse, being able to make this better. And what does he do? He gets in front of a mic and says, quote, "It's never on coaching. It's always been about the players." So the Nationals are spiraling again. To me, Devin, this kind of response is not only tone deaf. To me, it's a complete failure of leadership. Martinez, I think he may think he's standing up for his staff, but in reality, I think he's refusing to accept accountability. And like the fact he's, the other quote, "We can't hit for them, can't pitch for them." But the thing is, they could do more than just hand out the scouting reports. They could do more than just hope for the best. If that is their job, if he truly believes that he has really doesn't make the difference on wins and losses, then it's an abject failure as far as coaching goes. They're supposed to inspire. You're supposed to adjust. You're supposed to fix what isn't working. And the Nats offense right now, if you look at them, they've just scored 30 runs in their last 12 games. That's less than 3 per game in the league where run scoring is up. I know there's some drag on the ball and there's some conversation about that. We could spend probably an hour talking about the ball being manipulated again with the tight seams and all that. But they look disjointed right now. And the fact that he's just like, nah, not my problem. I mean, compare that to really like actual leaders in sports. I mean, you can look at a whole bunch of guys, Carlos Mendoza. I mean, for the Mets, like they have helped the Mets navigate through difficult things, not only last year, but this year, somehow keep them fighting and make the right decisions, whether it's on the mound or as far as the offensive goes. We've had a lot of adversity for players. So, I mean, the Nats at this point, this is 5 straight years. They're unraveling before the All-Star break. Something has to change. And people are going to point to 2019 and say they're World Series champions, but how long does that last? Eventually, Joe Madden got fired from the Cubs, and that dude ended a 100-plus year streak, or drought, I should say. I mean, they've been bottom tier in nearly every meaningful category, and right now, Martinez, like, you could be the spark, but at this point, you're just failing to take accountability. And if I was a player on the Nats, I'd be super bothered by this.
Yeah, dude, all you had to say here is it starts with me. I can be better. The rest of the coaching staff can be better. Everyone in the clubhouse can be better. We can all be better. We're all accountable. It starts with me, right? And it trickles down. Instead, he chooses to be a passive aggressive child. Like, what an all-time awful quote. Just awful. If I'm in that clubhouse, I am just I don't want to play for this guy. Like, egocentric. It's never ever the coaches. Never. It can never be the coaches. Seriously? You've never made a mistake that has hurt your team? A bad bullpen choice, leaving a guy in too long, whatever it is. Like, come on now. Messed up a relationship, disciplined a guy when maybe you should have had a softer hand, not disciplined a guy when you should have been a little harder on someone. You coach long enough, you are going to make mistakes. This is one of the all-time worst quotes I've ever heard a baseball manager say, and to me, a fireable offense. This is the same organization that last year held CJ Abrams accountable for staying out too late, because even though he's very young, he's one of the leaders of a up-and-coming young team, and they felt like they couldn't just slap him on the wrist. It was towards the end of the season. There's like a week or two left, and they send the dude to AAA. They don't just sit him for a game or anything like that. They send him to AAA, which seemed a little dramatic at the time. And now you got your manager failing to take any accountability himself, but you want these young guys to take accountability. I mean, all the wrong messages. You cannot say anything that's going to convince me that it's not as bad. I heard some people say, like, oh, it's kind of refreshing for someone not to just give a canned answer. Yeah, I like when people don't just give the media trained answers either. But you know what? That is a situation where you give the media training answer, because your first job is to keep that clubhouse together. That's your first job. Like, you shouldn't be worrying about what us fans are thinking about your answer. Oh, it's such a boring answer. Imagine Bill Belichick started caring about what we thought, and instead of on to Cincinnati, he's like, yeah, the left guard really sucked today. And Tom Brady back there looked like he didn't know what he was doing. Like, no. Like, just get through the interview and move on. Your number one job is to make sure those players are in the mental and physical space to put their best performance out there. You're calling guys up left and right. Brady House just called up today or yesterday. So you're just adding more and more of this talented youth, and the performance is not there. You mentioned the losing streak. That's up to 10 now. Double-digit losses in a row. They got destroyed by the Rockies today. So, like, it's just bad. You cannot defend it. There is nothing you can say to defend Davey Martinez. He should be fired before our next episode. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't think he's part of the problem, then clearly he can't be the solution. So get a different voice and have someone that can hold everybody accountable. And at the end of the day, good leaders don't duck responsibility. Whether it is his fault or not, he's the guy steering the ship. And to have a whole bunch of young players that are being groomed and galvanized as this unit that will eventually carry the next generation of DC baseball, to have a guy saying, well, we did our job, and point a finger and say they didn't do their job, it just sends the wrong message. And to me, that, as you said, feels like he should go, at the very least, just to make an example. They made an example of CJ Abrams. Make an example of Davey Martinez.
Yeah, see ya. I mean, 2019 is a while ago. Brandon Hyde won Manager of the Year like a couple years ago, and Baltimore fired him because he lost the feel. And he did. He lost the feel. And Davey Martinez, I mean, he's more than lost the feel at this point.
So we also had some conversation with Aaron Civale. He made it clear he wanted to remain a starter, and they had to figure out a way to trade him from the Brewers, and the White Sox gave him that opportunity. And since our last episode, Aaron Civale is a Chicago White Sox. We actually saw him make his first start. He walked 4 of the first 7 batters he faced, finished off with 4 walks, 6 hits, and 2 earned runs over 5 innings and a 2-1 loss to the Rangers. He had some command issues early, and just 6 of his first 19 pitches were strikes. He managed to limit the damage, but it wasn't the kind of performance that inspires immediate confidence. But to his credit, Civale did settle down here. He had the rocky start, keeping the game within reach, shredding some runners in key moments. This was Civale's first start with a new catcher, new coaching staff under the pressure, proving he belongs in a rotation. But we saw this play out because originally the story was he wanted a trade, he got a trade, and the trade itself, it was Andrew Vaughn and cash, right? That was the notable bet for the Brewers on their end, that low risk move and get him out of town. And at some point, like, you request a trade and you get shipped to the White Sox. That's like some cruel nature of like, yeah, you wanted to be a starter. Well, guess what? Head to the South Side.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to dig into with this story yet, other than it's kind of hilarious that Milwaukee was like, all right, F around and find out. And that's what happened. Chicago White Sox, like, that's your new jersey now. I mean, you're Aaron Civale, man. I just think he kind of overplayed his hand here. Like, Milwaukee has had to kind of juggle their pitching for 2 years in a row now, and the injuries don't help. And Civale can't sit there and say he's been the picture of health. He's been in and out of the rotation kind of everywhere he's went because of health reasons. So I hate to say it, but I don't have a ton of sympathy here for Aaron Civale. 4.91 ERA in his time in Milwaukee this year. So, I mean, hopefully he does better for the White Sox. Andrew Vaughn, I mean, maybe we'll see a little revival in Milwaukee. Maybe he fits better there, or a coach gets a hold of him that tries something different with him. Because at one point he was a pretty hyped up guy and just has never been able to kind of even come close to reaching what that hype once was. But, you got to be careful, to be careful what you wish for.
So we have the Yankees. They have the reinvigoration of Giancarlo Stanton to the lineup, but it's been met with 3 straight days of being shut out. So the Yankees just got shut out as we're recording, 4-0 to the Angels. Second night in a row, the Angels shut them out. And the night before that, they have not scored a run since Saturday, Devin. So Giancarlo Stanton is the story here. The Yankees lineup looked alive with him there. He had another hit tonight, so he is the guy hitting. They're not scoring runs, but it seems like his bat is up to speed. The Yankees right now, I mean, they're scuffling. They've scored just 5 total runs over their last, at this point, 6 games, 0 over their last. Now add that 29 innings. And even with Stanton back in the number 5 spot, the offense went 1 for 8 on Monday night with runners in scoring position. They stranded some leadoff runners in scoring position in the 9th, 10th, and 11th. We had Kyle Hendricks looking like Pedro Martinez in the Bronx tonight. He absolutely just shut the Yankees down. I think Aaron Boone right now, he has a little bit of a juggling act. That's the story with Stanton here at this point. Someone has to have some of the credentials here. Obviously in the lineup, Cody Bellinger, Jason Dominguez, Paul Goldschmidt, Ben Rice, or Trent Grisham. Grisham seems to be the odd man out at this point. He's cooled off significantly since the beginning of the season, and Stanton's going to work himself in there. Boone has acknowledged that this is a challenge, and I think all the players are on the same page, and they are willing to do what it takes. But when you have this offensive struggle, and this was always going to happen. At some point, the Yankees are not going to score runs at huge clips like they were in the beginning of the year. This, to me, right now is one of those things where you just have to ride the wave, and hopefully the Yankees come out of this unscathed. The problem is right now, and we will discuss it continuing in the meat of the order, the Tampa Bay Rays, for as cold as the Yankees are, the Rays are as hot and maybe the best team in baseball right now as of June 17th as we were recording. They're absolutely on fire right now. Nice applause for Stanton in the Bronx, but things are getting a little nerve-wracking now when they're not scoring runs. The Yankees certainly will score runs. They've been unreal all year, but being shut out 3 nights in a row, that's not Yankees baseball. It's a little bit concerning.
Yeah, that's not what anyone expected at this point, because previous to that, every starter that had a good run, all of a sudden they'd run into the Yankees and get lit up. I mean, like, the Royals specifically come to mind recently. Noah Cameron, their left-handed rookie, had cruised in his first 3 or 4 starts and then gets beat up by the Yanks. And then I believe in that same series, Chris Bubich as well, who's, we mentioned the sub-2 ERA crew constantly, also gets beat up by the Yanks. Good for Stanton getting back and actually looking good, because, I mean, when this elbow stuff came out, a lot of rumors were that he was going to have to retire, like that. This is going to be it for him. So, hopefully he can put together a healthy second half here, and that's a bright spot. Another thing I saw, and here's one guy that will never shy away from accountability, Aaron Judge. Listen, we can't sit here and criticize Aaron Judge, because without Aaron Judge, the Yankees are nothing. Let's be honest. As good as some of the other players are on that team, it starts and ends with Aaron Judge. I did see this tweet, though, a little bit before we came on. It said, with 3 more strikeouts tonight, Aaron Judge now has a 41% strikeout rate in June, which leads all qualified hitters. So that's not what you want to see. I've always been amazed that he strikes out as much as he does and still puts up the stats that he does. It's incredible. But 41% for the whole month and leading the league, or being at the bottom of the league, I guess, is not what you want to see. I said this earlier in the year, like Aaron Judge, the numbers are always there at the end and they're incredible. But Aaron Judge can be a streaky guy. He can go into some weeks at a time of struggles. So I thought that was interesting because, like I just said it, the Yankees kind of go as Aaron Judge goes. But to you, as the Yankee fan watching these guys night in, night out, living and dying with every pitch, what's the level of concern? Is it just baseball, and this is what happens in a baseball season naturally, and it comes and goes, or are you like there's a little more something to this?
It's just baseball. I feel like it's not at that level. Just the way they're losing is concerning. It's a little bit defeating to lose not scoring the runs, but this is part of it. And you mentioned Judge being the guy. He is the apex of this lineup. He is the de facto leader offensively, spiritually. The guy's gone 2 for the last 21, struck out 3 more times tonight. This guy, he's scuffling right now. And with Judge, the Yankees, are going to struggle as well. And they're lucky. And if you look at the positive things, luckily they got off to such a hot start, and you look at what they've done, but losers of 5 straight now. They've lost 7 of their last 10. This is a team that clearly needs to get back on the track. Cause I mentioned the teams behind them, despite the Orioles being as bad as they are, 11 games under 500, and Boston certainly in flux. They're still 2 games above 500, but we know what's going on over there. Toronto's only 3 games back from first place, and the Rays are only 2 games back. So I would say my level of concern is about a 4, but in a typical season, it would be much higher. It's just the Yankees have shown a lot of ability to weather storms, and this certainly is the most cloudy weather they faced all year. And it's just the way they're losing, because we've seen spurts. Every baseball team goes through it where you sometimes get battered. You can lose games 11-3. And I don't know what's worse. You know what I mean? If they score 3 runs and lose, or they're going to be just quiet and they go out with a whimper every single night. It just sucks that they got swept by the Red Sox. That's never fun. You go into Fenway Park and lose 3 straight games, especially in a showcase weekend. And you do the same against, the Angels. They're not the 2002 Angels that won the World Series. This is not the same team that the David Eckstein, that level of Angels that used to own you in the playoffs. This is not the House of Horrors Angels, but they're going out there and they're turning back the clock, and they're not doing it in any other way, but just shutting the offensive down. So it is concerning, but I'm putting my level at a 4.
I think that's fair. I think that's a fair mark, and you're right. It's less about like being worried about the offensive scuffles, because does seem to just be kind of the ebbs and flows of a baseball season. But it's more about the teams behind them getting hot and all of a sudden it being a close race. I felt the same way with the Mets, who we're going to talk about here in a minute. Whereas, like, I wasn't even that upset with the sweep that the Rays sweeping them over the weekend, but the Phillies swept their series. So, like, there's a lot of movement in the division at the top. So that's the concerning part, is when those other teams are winning when you're going through your losing streaks.
So we're going to go with the Mets here. Just days after losing Kodai Senga to a right hamstring strain, their rotation took another blow on Tuesday with Tyler McGill finding himself on the 15-day injured list with a right elbow sprain. They called up Justin Garza to fill his roster spot. So, of course, this is a setback for the staff right now that looked like a strength at one point. McGill's been dominant throughout April, 1.09 ERA over the 5 starts. He struggled since 5.56 ERA in the last several outings, but we saw the dip in velocity, the commanded dip, perhaps, which is an early warning that this injury was looming at some point. But now you got Senga and McGill sideline, and the rotation has to be patchwork. We mentioned managers doing their part here. Davey Martinez, you have to be able to weather and steer the ship. Currently, right now, they're rolling with David Peterson, Clay Holmes, Griffin Canning, and I believe Paul Blackburn's still in there. Yeah. Peterson and Holmes have been solid. Cannon and Blackburn have been inconsistent of late. But the thing is, Devin, there is a silver lining. There is a great white hope, and his name might be Sean Manaea, targeting an early July return. Frankie Montas is further along, but Sean Manaea might be coming back just in time for you guys.
Yeah, so that's the interesting part. And we talk about building depth in the starting rotation. That's what David Stearns has done here. Manaea, again, you mentioned he's still building up. His second rehab start wasn't as good as his first one, but again, we're not really looking that much at results when the pitch count is still so low. So he's got a little building up to do still. Frankie Montas is the disappointment here, because he should be ready to come back. He's made several rehab starts, and this would be like perfect timing with the injuries. The good news is the Senga thing is a grade 1, so maybe he's not out too long. Well, you got to be careful, obviously, and make sure you don't re-injure it. McGill, I heard today, even though it's 15-day IL, Mendoza said minimum 4 to 5 weeks, minimum. So like that seems like it's going to be a little more of a long term. Let's wait and see what happens. But Montas, health wise, is ready to come back, but he's getting absolutely lit up in the minors. This is if it continues, is going to be a bigger story because David Stearns gets praised as he should for a lot of these finds, like a Griffin Canning or other guys that have just turned out to be way more valuable than what he signs them for. The Montas deal was like 3 years, 17 million. And I don't know. Everyone was saying, like, where is this number coming from? But maybe he'll be the Luis Severino this year. I don't know. I mean, he's going to have to find it here. The Mets pitching lab has done wonders with a lot of guys, but it hasn't worked for Montas so far. He's actually, I believe, making another rehab start tomorrow, and they're hoping they see something in the positive direction so they can then eventually, next week have him take that spot that McGill is leaving. I don't know who they're going to pencil in for now because Montas will not be able to do it with his rehab start being in a day or two. And then the other option, we mentioned Mania, but I mean, Brandon Sproat would be a logical option, but he's also struggled a bit this year at the AAA level. So I don't think it's going to be him. So more than likely, I think as far as a spot start this week, it'll be a non-sexy entity. And I think the hope is that Frankie Montas will be ready after that. I mean, you got a guy like Nolan McLean, who has had maybe 5 or 6 starts at the AAA level, who has looked really, really good. I don't think they're going to want to rush him up here. So that would be a big surprise. And then Jonah Tong is the talk of the town recently, but he is still only in AA. I do not see him as a guy that they're going to say, let's skip AAA. I think position players sometimes, if a guy's really hot, teams are comfortable maybe doing that. But for a pitcher, I think you want to see them pass the tests at every level. So we'll see. A little concerned, but you build that depth for a reason, and everyone kind of has to just step up a little bit in the absence.
Yeah, they're going to be testing the limits of their pitching depth for sure, and they're going to need to maybe act at the deadline if they want to stay in the focus of being the NL East winners and make that move. But you mentioned before weathering that storm, it's important. But a team that is not just weathering the weather out in Tampa, we have the Rays, man. They are so red hot. They feel like they flipped the switch, and the rest of the American League right now has to be on notice. I mentioned the Yankees taking notice with their losing streak. We saw the Rays lose tonight, which ended their win streak, but still, they had a historic weekend sweep of the Mets. They capped by a 9-0 shutout on Sunday. They returned home on Monday night. They crushed the Orioles 7-1, which made it 20 wins in their last 26 games. So it's 20 and 27 at this point. Back-to-back dominant performances against really two postseason contenders. I mean, the Orioles right now are a team that is struggling, but the Mets themselves, like they going in there to Citi Field and do what they did. First time the Mets have been swept at Citi Field all year. It was a big deal to go in there and do that. For that 4-game statement, you have to go and look at this series. I know you watched it closely. Shane Baz, Sunday, 6.2 shutout innings. Junior Caminero hit his 17th home run. The offense piled on late for a 9-0 win. Tampa scored 21 runs over the 3-game sweep of the Mets, including that offensive explosion on Sunday. So they pad that stats. The Mets, I mean, at this point, being swept for the first time, 2025, nothing to scoff at. And honestly, what we saw Monday might be equally as important. I understand we talk about Baltimore, we pile on them, but Ryan Pepiot struck out a career high 11 over 8.
Yep.
So this guy was impressive. He got his 10th quality start, tied for 3rd in the AL. And the other stat I saw, Devin, that was posted up a lot of places on social media, the Rays right now have a league-leading 37 quality starts after finishing 2024 with just 48. So at this point, we're not even halfway through the season. So speaks to what the Rays are doing right now on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, that sweep of the Mets, you cannot poo-poo that at all because the Mets were hot before that. Like, they were on their own streak, like really winning lots of games. So that was kind of shocking as a Met fan to see it. And from watching the Rays up close, when they're playing their game, man, they look like a World Series contender. Like, they're good everywhere. They have talent everywhere. Like, they're a team. They really are just a solid team. Everyone does the little things. And when you make a mistake on the other side, they kill you for it. It happened multiple times in the series against the Mets where they have a big inning. They kill you. If you let them hang around, they will kill you when you make a mistake. And I'll give you some more stats here. Going back to May 20th, they lead Major League Baseball in wins, runs per game, OPS, and ERA as a team. So like all over the place, they're absolutely killing it. I'll give you some more here. You mentioned their last 2 opponents. I'll go further back. Let's stay with May 20th here, just about a month ago. It's not like they've had this cupcake schedule at all. Astros, Blue Jays, Twins, Astros again, Rangers, Marlins. Okay, I'll give you that one. Red Sox, Mets, Orioles, who have been playing better as of late, as you mentioned. So like it makes it even more impressive. Two guys, even though it's very much a team effort, I'll highlight two guys here. Brandon Lau, since May 20th as well, hitting 333, 7 home runs, 23 runs, 15 RBIs, 187 WRC plus, which is 8th best. And if you look on that WRC plus list from May 20th till now, right under Brandon Lau is Junior Caminero. 9 home runs, 25 RBIs, 186 WRC plus, 9th best, right below his teammate. So these two guys are leading the way, and that's quite a 1-2 punch if those guys can get right. Caminero is going to be a star for a long time. Lau, I think, is an underappreciated guy, partly because he's had trouble staying on the field and putting full seasons together. But if you look at some of the seasons where he's been on the field more than not, he's put up some monster numbers. So I would expect that to continue.
Yeah, and you mentioned what they do well on every side of the ball. The defense has been amazing. They turned 3 double plays behind Pepiot on Monday, which they now have 81 double plays in the year, which is second most in MLB. So this is really the Rays' blueprint. We've seen them do this before. Deep starting pitching. They have timely power, and the airtight defense is Rays baseball. They do not make mistakes on that side of the ball. And if you have two aces with Baz and Pepiot to be part of this rotation, the bullpen is finding form with names that you've never heard of before. I saw Eric Orrs, Cole Sulzer, Mason Montgomery. We're familiar with the Montgomery name, but these other guys, they're looking like the most complete team in baseball right now. You mentioned World Series contender, but they're doing everything right. The Yankees right now are slipping. The Rays aren't going to just chase them down. They may be able to catch them before it's said and done. We saw a huge shift where Yankees lost 5 straight and the Rays were able to add those games very quickly. It happens so swiftly during the baseball season, so you have to be careful. They're on pace to win 90 plus games, and they had a really, really rough April. So imagine where they'd be if they were a little bit on pace where they were. But for this team to win 90 plus games, I mean, that should be good enough to be a playoff team.
Oh, no doubt about it. You mentioned the bullpen, like just being able to put it together all the time. Forrest Whitley, a name that we've heard connected to the Houston Astros for so many years now and just never seems to work out. The Rays just got him. And in his first little time or first action for the Rays, 1-2-3 inning, looked really, really good for the Rays out there. And they asked him, like, what have the Rays told you so far about what they want you to do? And he mentioned like a little bit about arm action and using his cutter more, like simple stuff. This is what the Rays do, man. They make the best of these finds and they are able to squeeze the most juice out of these guys. And who knows if they're able to do that with Whitley, and Whitley becomes another weapon for them.
So we move on to the college baseball World Series over here. Gage Wood threw a 19 strikeout no-hitter versus Murray State. And this guy made a lot of history. One of the most dominant performances in college World Series history. Arkansas right-hander Gage Wood delivered a complete game no-hitter on Monday. As I mentioned, struck out 19 to set a new 9-inning college World Series strikeout record. This is the third ever no-no in college World Series history, and it's the first since 1960. So the Arkansas Razorbacks move to a 3-0 victory in an elimination game and ends Murray State's Cinderella postseason run. They're now facing UCLA right now, up 7-0. So with Gage Wood, man, this is a kid right here, carried a perfect game into the 8th inning. If you guys are watching this, he did wind up plunking the leadoff hitter, which was the only base runner he allowed all night. He made it clear during the post game that he was upset by that. He said, quote, "I shouldn't have hit the guy. That's it. That's all I got to say." Obviously, it spoiled the perfect game, but he was finishing the job. 119 pitches, which is a career high on his part. He broke both the College World Series single game strikeout record, which was previously 17 by LSU's Ty Floyd in 2023, and Arkansas's program record in the process. So what makes this a little bit more remarkable, he entered the game with a over 5 ERA. He had missed most of March and April due to shoulder impingement and only returning with limited innings down the stretch. So Monday's start was just his 11th of the season, and by far his longest. His previous high was 6. So he's the number 20 MLB draft prospect, and scouts have to be very intrigued right now. He overpowered Murray State, who has been more than impressive in recent weeks. So this should be very, very interesting to watch down the stretch. Arkansas could be advancing and face all the momentum on the back of Gage Wood. This was electric to watch.
I mean, this is unbelievable. Like, this is a jump out at you. You'll remember this forever stat line. 19 strikeout no-hitter. Are you kidding me? And just a hit by pitch away from a perfect game, 19 strikeout in the College World Series, not just any other game. Like, just wow. Like, what a moment. He'll have that forever. It's just incredible stuff. And like you alluded to, you look at what he did previous for the year, and there's a reason maybe that name hasn't been out there, and kind of for some people came out of left field. It wasn't, a great season for him. The ERA now for the season stands at 3.82, in about 37 and 2/3 innings pitched. So it hasn't really been like a full put together season. I will say 16.5 K per nine. So he has that stuff. And you alluded to like, oh, scouts, this is going to catch their attention. So he is a high draft pick, most likely, as far as rounds go. Just Baseball released their pretty extensive mock draft, I believe today. It was either today or yesterday. So I looked at that, knowing we would talk about Gage Wood. And interestingly enough, they had him going number 38 overall to my New York Mets. And I thought it was very interesting write-up as to why they feel like that could be a great match. The fastball is fantastic for Gage Wood, but apparently the secondary stuff is still a work in progress. And Mets, with their pitching lab and kind of being able to get the best out of that kind of stuff, seems like a match. Now, will he last to number 38? Like, if he has another standout game, I'm not saying he has to throw a no-hitter, but if he has another electric game as Arkansas moves on, he may jump up into the top 30, I would think, as maybe there's a possibility, proving that he's healthy and kind of all put together right now. But an interesting name to watch for sure. And now seeing his name connect to the Mets, even though it's just a mock draft, I can't help but be a little excited.
Yeah, so we're looking at the College World Series coming down to really the wire at this point. So we're looking at what's next at this point. UCLA and Arkansas is underway at this point. It's a elimination game. And right now, Arkansas is up 7-0 in the top of the ninth, looking to finish UCLA off, which means that tomorrow we get Coastal Carolina versus Louisville at 2 p.m. when the winner goes to the finals. And LSU, the defending champions from 2023, will be looking at the winner of UCLA and Arkansas. And the winner is going to be facing at 7 p.m. So LSU gets a shot to punch their ticket. And we have the first game of the World Series beginning Saturday, June 21st, runs through the 23rd. So right now we have a lot of questions. Omaha has been as advertised. It's been a lot of fun to watch. I mean, you got to stay locked into this. I think this past week isn't any indication. I think we're in for a final stretch that is going to be one to remember. We've just jumped onto the bandwagon of college sports as far as baseball goes, and it's been as advertised, man. This has been, not just the Gage Wood stuff. There's been so much as far as upsets, heavyweights, everything in here that you can want. It's been fantastic, and shout out to the College World Series. The only thing I'm missing is my Camels in this race, but other than that, I can't complain.
Yeah, maybe next year. Give me Coastal Carolina. I mean, I just love their entire attitude. Like, people calling them Cinderella, and they said, stop with that. Like, we've been to Omaha before. We've won it before. Like, we don't want the Cinderella stuff all because we're not one of the SEC powerhouses. You can tell they play with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. Their coach, apparently, the last time he went to Omaha, his son at a very young age had a stroke. And he couldn't come, obviously, for obvious reasons, couldn't come to Omaha with the family. And they said, if we ever get there again, like, no matter what, you are coming with us. And he's grown up now and doing well. And so I believe he's there with them, which is a cool story. But everything I read about Coastal Carolina, I just love. Apparently some of the t-shirts that they've been selling at Omaha have been like the wrong color for Coastal Carolina, and people are messing up the team name. And so, like, it just keeps on feeding into their story of like keeping that chip on their shoulder. So they've got my vote here. I'm looking at them, rooting for them, but mostly I just want to see fun, good baseball.
So if you're listening to this Wednesday morning, Coastal Carolina and Louisville will be first pitch 2 p.m. Louisville coming off that walk-off win today, 7-6 eliminated the Oregon State Beavers, which devastating for Oregon State to watch them just defeated on the field. But that's what it's all about, man. In the game of just inches, they're going home, and we have Louisville moving on, and they're facing right now that's a juggernaut in Coastal Carolina. So this is going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm certainly going to keep my eyes on it, and getting home to check out the winner of LSU. And it's going to be Arkansas, it seems like, unless UCLA has this huge comeback to come out here. So, man, I think any of these combinations, Coastal Carolina versus LSU, could be quite the College World Series. But Louisville right now is on fire. Like I said, coming off that huge walk-off win. But let's head to our sub-2 ERA club. I know we have some members that fell off, and we maybe have some new additions. I'm not sure. All right, Devin, lead us through the sub-2 ERA club. I'll hit that music over here and get us going.
All right, I'm going to try to stay upbeat. I just watched my Metsies lose in a game that they once led 4-1. The Braves walk them off in extras, so not the greatest way to start the road trip here. But anyway, moving on here, sub-2 ERA crew, Kodai Senga on the injured list, but as of now, he leads the crew here with a 1.47 ERA, which actually went down before he pulled his hamstring. So eventually he's going to fall off this list in the next week or so because of qualifications, innings, and stuff like that. But we do have a new member, and we are excited to welcome him to the crew. Paul Skeens has gotten that ERA under 2, 1.78. Welcome to the crew, Paul. Hunter Brown, 1.88. His ERA is actually up from the last time we had him, but he's still in the sub-2 ERA crew. Max Fried as well, 1.89. He brings that ERA a little bit down. Chris Bubich, despite the bad start against the New York Yankees, 1.92 ERA, which is up from last time. And then another new member, Tarek Skubal, 1.99. Welcome to Mr. Skubal. So, I mean, that's a pretty sexy-looking sub-2 ERA crew right now. We did have Garrett Crochet fall off again. He's kind of been back and forth. He stands at 2.24. And Nate Eovaldi as well, only because he's on the IL and is right now not qualified to be on the leaderboard.
Yeah, I love that list over there, and it's a great compilation. It's not just anyone there by luck. Those are, you start a franchise with some of those pitches on there. So good stuff over there to look at. So we'll keep you guys up to date on the sub-2 ERA club. I know that we had someone drop something in the mailbag, and I feel like you and I need more time to prep on what was being asked. So we're not going to go into it, but I want to shout out the person that dropped something on our X machine.
Yeah, so let's see, I believe it's John Eric 51. We did see your mailbag question here, but got to it a little too late. And it is something, like Steve said, I feel like we need a little time to put together. He was alluding to what we talked about before with Gage Wood, apparently having some friends on the Murray State team and maybe even facing a good friend in that last inning to try to finish everything off. So he wanted to see if we could talk about like the little bit of the history of friends matching up in baseball. Off the top of the head, I mean, without researching, I think of, I don't know how friendly they were, but they were teammates. Watching Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani in that World Baseball Classic face each other at the end of the game was pretty electric. I'm sure we could think of some others. I mean, in a funny way, I think of Anthony Rizzo. What was it? Anthony Rizzo pitching to Freddie Freeman, right?
Yep.
And then also they had gotten like a rundown and they were mic'd up and you hear him calling him Frederick. That was pretty funny as well. Those are friends matching up. That's what I think of.
Yeah, for sure. And it's definitely a good conversation to have. And I think with a lot of these baseball players, there's a fraternity that they become friends when they're on the same team. But I think maybe the skew of the question I'd want to take it is find guys that grew up together, maybe went to high school together and found themselves on an MLB diamond together, or maybe even played in college at some capacity and then wind up playing each other on opposite sides of the field in Major League Baseball. So it is a conversation we want to revisit. And again, we thank you for submitting that question and engaging with us. So anyone that else has questions, we will certainly read them on air and try our best to give you guys the time of the day to hear our thoughts on it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You know what? For a little while there, I kind of forgot to be putting the mailbag up there, but we're gonna get back in the routine at least from time to time.
So let's head to our final segment of the night: red hot and ice cold.
So hot. Oh, that's cold.
All right. So in this segment, we'll pick a player or team from each category to mention them and someone or a team that really hasn't been discussed during this episode. So Devin, you lead the way. Give us a player that is hot or a team.
All right, so red hot, I'm going with my boy Elly De La Cruz in the month of June, hitting 378, 5 home runs. And coming into tonight, I have to check his stat line for tonight, but coming into tonight, he had hit a home run in 4 straight games, 14 runs scored. This is what stands out to me. In the month of June, only a 16.7% K rate. That's a good sign for a guy like Elly because that's the big hole in his game. 249 WRC plus. He's at like the top of that list for June. So really good job by Elly. And on the pitching side, I'm going to give it to a group, the Astros pitching staff. Again, this is quiet, man. Nobody's talking about the Astros. There's other things people are talking about. they have been sneaky. In June, 2.23 ERA as a team. That is the best in the league in that time. 87% left on base percentage, easily the best. Crazy number, unsustainable, but still pretty crazy. 11.52 K per nine. That's also the best as a team. So we're looking pretty good here. They're 10-4 with 5 saves. And Astros are suddenly 4.5 games up in the AL West. Like, when the hell did that happen? And I think most people are paying attention to the Seattle side of it, like they're falling apart again, just like last year. But let's give some credit to the Astros, just always finding a way. Pitching staff has been led by Framber Valdez. In his last 5 starts, he has a 2.38 ERA, 11.91 K per nine. And of course, I didn't forget about Hunter Brown, who we mentioned in the sub 2. His last 5 starts, 2.76 ERA, 11.66 K per nine, 92.9% left on base. So this guy, when guys get on base, he just does not let them go anywhere. To have those 2 guys at the top of your rotation, under 3 ERAs in the month, and also K per nines of over 11 each of them. I mean, it's a good recipe for success no matter what the rest of the roster looks like. So those are my red hot.
So I had 2 red hot players on here. One of them was Ellie De La Cruz as well. Just making a look at for lists out there. So I'm, piling on for what you say. He does it all in the field. And I think what we saw from Ellie, he's almost fully realized. And I think the fact that he plays in Cincinnati, he doesn't get the shine he deserves in Major League Baseball. I know that a lot of people are talking about him, but I think they deserve a little bit more. I mean, he launches balls into orbit. He wreaks havoc on the base paths. This guy is electric in every way possible. As far as my other hot player, probably not someone you're talking about a lot here. Alejandro Kirk is swinging the bat like a hitter that we've really expected him to be. Over his last 11 games, he has a slash line of 370, 383, 565, 3 doubles, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, and he struck out just 6 times. So he's DH'd 3 times during this run, and really he's just piling up the extra base hits. And this is the version of Kirk that the Blue Jays want to see, barreling up baseballs. And I think when you look at the scouting reports from back in the day of projecting him to be a 300 hitter at catcher, this is what they're talking about. So defensively, he's still struggling. He doesn't really get those base stealers out. I think it is a green light for people to steal on him. 1 for 8. I think what we're seeing for him is just a lot of the bat that we're growing to love. And I mean, he may be an all-star come July. We'll see.
Yeah, just to follow up, Ellie 0 for 3 tonight, but did score a run, stole a base, walked twice, so still managed to contribute to a 6-5 win versus Minnesota. And to follow up on Kirk, I believe I heard, and listeners, you can check me on this, he leads the league as far as average with 2 strikes. I think he's hitting something crazy. You mentioned the 370. I think he's hitting around 370 with 2 strikes, like something insane, or 3 something. And I believe the league average is like 170 with 2 strikes. So I think he's like crazy far above it. Again, you can check me on that. Maybe it's not 370, but I believe it's over 300 with 2 strikes when the league average is below 200. Just crazy. So he's really starting to get on people's radar, but still underreported. On the ice cold side, not a guy I expected to ever have in this category, because to me, he's like the model of consistency as a hitter, maybe the best pure hitter in the game, in my opinion. Corey Seager has scuffled in June. He's hitting 103, which is the worst among qualified hitters. No home runs the entire month. That's in 54 plate appearances, only 2 RBI. I will say there's a little bit of although. He has a 25.9% walk rate, which is the second highest. The only one beating him is, surprise, surprise, Juan Soto. So he has found a way to get on base. But with that being said, only 3 runs scored all month. So, and maybe you blame the other guys in the lineup on that, but I never thought I'd see him hitting 103 for a month, to be honest. I know everybody slumps, but Corey Seager, I didn't expect to see some of those numbers. And then on the pitching side, Tyler Anderson got off to a pretty good start for the Angels. I've streamed him a couple times lately, and maybe this is why it's on my radar, because neither of those streams went very well in fantasy baseball for me. Over the last month, he's made 6 starts to the tune of a 7.28 ERA. He is winless in those 6 starts.
So for my cold players over here, Lars Nootbaar right now is in the midst of a 1 for 30 stretch right now. No home runs, no RBIs, no stolen bases, just absolutely a deep freeze at the plate. And really the lack of production has really stalled any offensive rhythm for the Cardinals. And I think he'll need to rebound quickly. I think he'll definitely avoid losing reps. I think it was his job to lose out there, but he is just struggling right now. And he's not doing a lot well right now. And the thing is, if you look at his numbers, he's had a pretty good season. So looking at what Newbar's doing, it's troubling if this is going to be the player he's going to turn into. Maybe it is just a cold June for him. And the pitching side, and again, I don't want to pile on these players in Colorado, but I kind of have to because Zach Agnos kind of had this rough patch for the ages. 0-2 record, 10 earned runs, 6 hits, 7 walks, and just 3.1 innings pitched. He did get 4 strikeouts, but the command issues were an issue, and it's been a nightmare for him. And they sent him back down to Albuquerque AAA, and I'm sure he's probably thankful for that to get out of Coors Field. But there was some moments that it looked really ugly out there, and there's no help on the way. That's the thing about this, like this season with the Rockies. I understand they've been on the winning side a little bit more than they have been in the past. They've got double-digit wins now. It's, maybe they can get past the mark where the White Sox were last year. We'll see. But when the going gets tough, they're leaving you out there. And Zach Agnes is going to be like, all right, well, I guess I have to just compile my ERA and dust it off. So don't want to pile on the dude, but these Rockies, I mean, there's some bad baseball happening over there in Denver.
I believe after putting a few wins together, their manager said something to the tune of "Don't let us get hot."
Oh,
and I don't think it was meant to be funny, but it's hilarious. Maybe it was. I just read the quote, so I didn't actually hear how it was said. Although I don't think a manager is going to joke about that. I don't think, but who knows? Davey Martinez is up there saying that coaches are never at fault, so I could be wrong.
What are your thoughts on those City Connect, the light blue ones that they come out with this year? The green ones felt like an albatross, but I think the ones this year look much better with the purple and the yellow. Feels like a mile high type of jersey.
I actually didn't mind the green one, the white and green ones with the mountains, and I
It looks
don't
like the
mind
All-Star game jersey from that year in Denver. I think that's
yeah. Yeah, I don't mind the ones this year either. You know what I found with some of these City Connects is sometimes I don't like them when I just see pictures of the jerseys, but then in an actual game and in the atmosphere of the stadium, some of them actually look better. And then I could say the opposite as well. I will say just on that front, like I'm done with the Mets wearing their City Connects. They wear them way too much, way too much. Like once in a while, fine, but I've had enough. I would love for them to get a new one. And another thing I didn't realize, I thought when some of these teams got new City Connects that the other one was faded out. You got the Red Sox wearing their green monsters, which I actually like a lot, and then the yellows, and then like I thought the yellows were retired.
No, they announced them as a full alternative. That's like they did that last year as a thing. They loved them so much. I mean, they did literally this weekend. I was texting in the group like they wore anything but red those first 2 games. They were the green monster ones are very nice, and
I like those.
I am of the belief at this point the Yankees need to get on the memo to go grab some of these City Connectors. I think it would do really well as far as selling jerseys. I think they're missing out on a huge opportunity to just jump in. We saw Notre Dame. I know you're a Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan. There was a time where they were one of those teams, like they had to look a certain way, and then they went the other way. And college football forces you to do that thing. And I think with baseball, I know the Yankees allow them to wear the Statue of Liberty arm guards and the wrist tape and the gloves and all that. I mean, at some point, Aaron Judge's got to just stand in front of the room and just be like, we need to just join the fray. Because it is funny to watch the Red Sox just like throw these jerseys, but look at Fenway Park. There is yellow jerseys and that green jersey. You're not seeing a classic white Red Sox jersey anywhere. You'd be hard pressed to find them. And I think for the Yankees, there's a lot of good options you can have. I mean, look at the Knicks alternate jerseys. Like it's sometimes hit or miss. Like I didn't like the fire department when they had, but some of the alternative jerseys they've had are just pretty damn cool. So they're growing beards now. Like
they've loosened the reins a little bit. So who knows?
This is not your granddaddy's Yankees anymore. Just come up with an alternate, or at least the batting practice jersey, the ones that they had, like the old school Bernie Williams one, like with the blue mesh. Come up with that one. There's got to be something out there that they can pull out and just like this has some history leverage that we can at least tie it with the history of keeping tradition.
Yeah, I mean, Metsies, just get me something like with some orange in there. You let this gray and purple shit with NYC like fade away, please. Like we've had enough of that. I think most of us.
I just don't like that it says NYC on the front. Like it should say Queens. People that are from
say Queens.
People that are from Queens don't ever say we're from NYC. Like everyone speak. And if you're listening out there, you're not from New York. Maybe you don't understand this, but if you're from Queens, you rep Queens. Like if you're from Brooklyn, you rep Brooklyn. You're from Long Island, you rep Long Island. It's like, I mean, maybe from Long Island, think they're from New York though. Like they're more like a New York City type person. But I think a really good Yankees alternate jersey could have something with the Bronx on it. Like how many cool things could you have? Or like a bodega version of it. I'm a bodega boy over here.
like, or bombers or something like that. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of different ways you could go about it. There's a lot of super creative people. Like, without making it, you can't give the Yankees some like egregious, like the Rockies one that you mentioned, or the Giants newer one, which is pretty crazy, and people feel different ways about it. Like,
Dude,
you
the Red
can't
Sox are
go,
wearing yellow. I understand it's for the Boston Marathon, but that's like
yeah.
that's so
Well, even
far.
even the yellow and the green, they're still very clean and rather simple in the grand scheme of things. Where some of these other ones have like gone
Yeah.
pretty far, and some of them are cool, but like when you're the Yankees or the Red Sox, like no matter what you go, what the colors are, you have to kind of keep it like clean and simple. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember there was a big deal when the Yankees wore the gray brim during batting practice. It was a huge deal that they weren't just wearing the traditional all navy blue hat. We've gone past that at some point. I don't want them to be NBA where you have a million jerseys, but at some point, let them have fun with this. I feel like players would enjoy this, like
Yeah.
to have them be limited and every other team gets to enjoy that. I know Matt is out there, Matt Russick. I know you're out there listening. You're like, I don't want my Yankees to have an alternate jersey. Come on, just think about it for a second. There'd be a lot of cool ones out there. You can buy a new jersey. Like for me, I have a Judge jersey. I'm not tempted to buy any new jersey. I'm telling you right now, if they come out with a
Yeah,
cool alternate
true.
jersey, I'm buying a City Connect.
That's a good point. Yeah, just like financially, like getting some more purchases for them. Yeah, I could see it.
Do you have the purple City Connect Met jersey?
Hell no, and I will never. You Met fans that are listening that bought into that stuff, shame on you. That's a terrible jersey. It's awful. No orange or blue. Are you serious? Come on, purple and gray. When have we ever been associated with purple and gray? And I understand the grimace stuff
No,
after that, but
purple
like,
for the 7 line.
oh, I get it, but I just don't like. I
I just
don't
think
like.
the shitty concrete color with the shitty gray font on it, that's what bothers me. And it
I
says
don't want to
NYC.
base
It
my
should say
team's.
Queens. It
I
should
don't want
say
to base
Queens.
my team's colors on the subway map. Like those subway maps are so ugly anyway. Like that's what we came up with. No, no, I will never get on that train. So absolutely not. I'm waiting for something new. I guess I won't hold my breath though.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of cool things you could do for Queens. Like, I mean, there's
Absolutely.
the World's Fair type of stuff you could
Yeah.
pull out there. Like, there's probably a design out there, but you're right. I think the colors should match. At the very least, there should be some attachment to. I'm telling you, man, it would be cool. Like, I think the people that did the PR for the Nets, when the Nets did those jerseys, the ones when Durant was here, they did the Bed-Stuy jerseys. I know they still rock the Bed-Stuy jersey, but like the Biggie Small sweater jerseys they did a really good job of like really encapsulating Brooklyn as a borough.
Yeah.
You have to get that team involved with the Mets to really encapsulate what Queens is about, to like galvanize a Queens level sort of endorsement run. Like
Well,
I think there's a lot
apparently,
of
well, I remember when they came out, apparently, like they picked a few Mets players to like really help them come up with
the
it.
dude's
Listen,
not from Queens. These are from all people all over
yeah,
the world.
like I love Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo, who apparently were both like involved in it, but I don't need them helping with the jersey design. There's other people that are way more talented at that should be involved in that.
They need a coming to America version of the jersey. How about that?
Oh yeah, sure.
I don't know.
Anything but this.
All right, well, let's come around third here. Let's wrap it up and get to the end of this episode as we talk all City Connect jerseys. All right, as we come around third here, of course, keeping our eye on all the rest of the week. Devin and I did do a lot of discussing here, but Devin, I'll give you the floor if there's anything catching your eye that you didn't mention so far.
Oh man. Well, obviously Mets have this stretch against the Braves, Phillies, and Braves. Uh, so it's going to make a huge mark in the division. Not off to a good start. By the way, another thing in this game, Ronald Acuna like robbed Pete Alonso of an extra base hit. Soto gets caught off of first because he didn't think he was going to catch it. Doubled up. That's late in the game. It changes the whole game. They've showed the highlight like 20 times. Incredible catch by Acuna. Looks like his knee feels just fine, but right when Soto was getting hot and everyone is starting to get off his back, I feel like he's going to catch some shit for this. But anyway, what I'm looking to fantasy baseball, man. For those listening, I talk about it every once in a while, but probably not as much as maybe I should. You probably don't feel that way, but that belt in the back, and if you're listening and not watching, this championship belt, shiny as all hell. I'm losing my grip on it, man. I've had it 3 years in a row, won 3 times in a row, and I think I'm the only one that's held this specific belt. I'm sitting at 4-7 right now in the 8th seed. I got to get top 6 to get in the playoffs. So if you're asking me what I'm looking at, I am looking every single day, every single second at how I can get a win back on the winning path. the very last thing I want. I know eventually I lose that belt, but I want to do it taking a swing in the playoffs. I don't want to just not make the playoffs. So I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to put a pitching staff together while Tyler Glasnow and Roki Sasaki and Aaron Nola take their sweet ass time on the IL doing anything, and other guys on the offensive side as well. It's been a brutal stretch here fantasy baseball wise. So I'm just looking for any positives here that I can.
So I am also following fantasy baseball very, very, very closely. And honestly, I've been very happy with my team thus far. I am sitting at 6-5, but every week I feel like I'm in it, scoring points. There's been some tough weeks that I've lost, but for the most part, I really like the team I've drafted, and I like some of the moves I picked up. Like Jeremy Pena has been an absolute revelation for me offensively,
Yeah.
replacing a lot of the injuries I had on my roster. I mean, watching Corbin Burns go down, you think that would end me, but I found some gems on the waiver wire as well, pitching wise. So being able to weather, and the thing is, dude, fantasy this year, the injuries have just been absolutely out of control. The worst we've seen since the shortened season, honestly, where people were getting positive tests for COVID and they had to sit out. Like that's what it's been at this point. Everyone's going down with an arm injury or a hamstring, or we need more IL spots. And that, as a commissioner, I have to like follow due process to do it. But part of me just wants to add 3 more just because it's just like every team has an extra 3 guys that are on there. But I digress. The one thing I am looking forward to is, of course, the drama that will be Boston going into San Francisco with Rafael Devers sitting in that lineup. And he's going deep at Oracle Park. That they're going to be very, very stoked to see this. And don't let the Giants fans have a reason to believe, and they have every bit of that right now. It should be fun to watch. The NL West is an absolute war right now with the Padres, the Dodgers, the Giants, and of course the Diamondbacks. Don't count them out. I mean, with Corbin Burns being hurt, that doesn't matter. Like I think you discussed it too last week that the Diamondbacks are still going to be buyers at the deadline. They're like, we're still out there doing our thing. Corbin Carroll looks every bit a superstar. The NL West might be the best division that it's ever been at this point. Not just the best division in baseball this year. I mean, and you're anchored by some real shit at the bottom, but the top of that division is absolutely out of control.
Yeah, I mean, really 4/5 of it, to be honest. I mean, yeah, don't count the Diamondbacks out. I mean, I was just thinking today as I watched some of the I believe it was Diamondbacks Blue Jays on MLB Network. Corbin Carroll and Ketel Marte, like what a 1-2 punch at the top of the lineup. Josh Naylor, who's motivated as a guy who's going to go into free agency. Like there's a lot of offense to really like there, and they just got to figure out the pitching now with Burns out, and Zach Gallen hasn't been himself, obviously, and Eduardo Rodriguez still trying to prove himself in that uniform, and on and on and on. Brendan Pfaadt kind of struggling this year. But if they can just kind of hold serve, and remember, a lot of teams make the playoffs nowadays, so I don't expect them to win the division by any means, but there could be a dangerous team if they make the playoffs. And I just, every time their front office speaks, they might be the only front office I can say this about. I just love what they say. They always seem to say the right thing, which is very bizarre. Front offices usually put their foot in their mouth or come off very egotistical. And they just came out again and said, no, like, I know we have a lot of pieces that people are going to be interested in, but like we plan on adding. And that's cool for them to not just immediately wave the white flag when a few of their guys go down with major injuries. But that you're right. Giants, Red Sox. How could I not say that? Devers already got his first hit, by the way, in a San Francisco uniform. Didn't take him very long.
And College World Series is this weekend. We will certainly see who the final 2 teams are. Make sure you guys have your eyes on that as it takes place. So blinking, it's going to be over. So please enjoy the drama as we continue to progress through this baseball marathon of the season, college and MLB. But if you want to support our show, follow us on Instagram at TablesettersPod, and also on the X Machine, Devin running it over there at TablesettersPod, engaging a lot of people over there. We have those 2 guests, and they're evergreen content. You can go check out Jack McMullen, the voice of Marlins Radio. Of course, also one of the creators with Just Baseball. And then we had the Bryce Whitlow episode, Hull, very good. Go back and check that out. Shout out to all the people that are here listening from those episodes. We appreciate you guys joining us on this journey of loving baseball. Very, very important as we continue to grow this game and enjoy everything we're going on here. And continue on the journey with us. We are going to be here week after week, and who knows what kind of guests we're going to have on here. Devin's always grinding, pounding the pavement to find some new people to provide some new perspective.
Yeah, and if there's anyone you want to hear us talk to that maybe they're not on our radar, send us a comment, send us a message, and maybe put them on their radar, and we'll check them out and see what we can work out. It's kind of just week to week, and sometimes people pop up, and I'm like, oh, that'd be fun to talk to, and other people we seek out. Sometimes people come to us and say, we'd love to talk, so we're always open for ideas, so let us know.
So the only thing that continues to be consistent is death taxes and the Red Sox trading generational hitters. We'll be back next week talking all things baseball. And until that time, we'll talk to you after a while.